Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4. She's doing the same as Coking, isn't she? She's looking to open up a gap here. And Jenny Sanchez, really competitive, a fast, hard-riding competitor. Got Manuela Sanchez behind, and then Morgan Olsen, Rodi, Barco and Hugita. I think this is going to be really interesting. These 3 try to close down Ribaudo, but Ribaudo is on a bit of a mission to close down Koki. Rest of the categories went hard early. The Category 1 have saved it for the climb, and it may well be that they are going to have that fantastic feeling of catching rider after rider on the way through.
As the gradient eases off a little, Cordero's got 100 metres to go. She's going to see that finish banner. Cordero is going to take the win. She started 15 minutes before the chasing Category 1 pack behind, and she has utilised that time to her advantage as she continues to tap on those pedals and she crosses the line first today.
That is some scary, scary power coming over the top. Rodi is going to surely be able to do this, but behind, Alicia Antico has not given up on this. But is Carla Rodi going to make this? Here comes the run. She's pushing for that line. She's going to make it. She's going to take the win in Category 3.
Final 30 metres. She can see the line in front of her. Sakamoto's not going to make the catch. Tajeros is going to take the first across the line, and the win in the Category 2 race for the February final on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club to Qualifier Race number 1. It's the 5th of March in 2023. We are live, bringing you all of today's action as we kick off another month of racing. And as we've just seen, it was absolutely brilliant racing last time round. Joining me in the commentary box to aid with commentary and to give us her insights, my name's Matt Payne. Joining me is Emma Martin. Emma, welcome to the studio. Welcome to the commentary box once again. And we've got some great action hopefully coming up after what was a cracking month.
We do indeed, Matt. It's great to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today, whether viewing or riding. We are here for qualifier race number 1 in March, and we have got a cracking course for our women today. So we are heading off to Australia. We are on the Wollongong route now. This is a great course. 35 kilometres of racing with 503 metres of climbing. And now, as you can see in front of you, 2 Category 4 climbs. Now, this is the climb of Mount Pleasant. It is a deceptive climb because it says it's 2.4 kilometres with an average gradient of 4.5%. But there are 2 kickers. There's a short kicker to start with. The riders will drop and descend, and then they will climb again. And on that second part of the climb, the gradient will top 17%. Now, this course is not just about those 2 climbs. As you can see, there's very little flat on this course, and it is constantly rolling with barely any flat, and it is a constant challenge for our riders today.
In fact, of this course, we have essentially what is 2 full laps plus a finish, and that run into the finish actually has one of the very few relatively flat sections. It's the same as from the start line, and that takes us out, and that is the only real chance where you're going to be able to get any kind of recovery. And even then, because everybody knows that's when everybody tends to go. A lot of draft effect though here, because although we do spend a lot of time climbing, we do have a lot of descents to match as well. So 4 categories lined up, all going to be sampling the delights of the course. Category 1 in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue, and Category 4, our first starters, they are in red. Our Category 4 riders, a really competitive race field, and we're going to dive in and jump in and see what they're up to. They're all lined up, ready to go. It's a team sport. When you come to the finals today, qualifiers, it's individuals.
It is indeed. So Category 4 red jersey riders today. There are 13 individual riders on the start sheets. And our top 5 from the February final are all in here today. Gonzalez, Fernanda, Gallego, Ossa Agudelo, as well as Tanningen, Hyde, and other riders such as Vink and Guzman. So it's going to be a really competitive course today, I think.
And they are riders we know that are going to be able to fight, not just for the win, but they're fighting for places as well. Top 5 riders in each category gain prizes. For those people who are maybe just joining us for the first time, top 5 riders get prizes each time. Once those results are verified, our riders are ready to go.
So we're in with Maria Jose Gallego as the go takes place, and the women are away on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for qualifier number 1 in March. So out of the start pens they go, and a push is coming on, and we've got a bit of a stretch on this group already. So the pace is really hot on this flat start section.
So our riders away in category 4, and they know that they're going to be chased. Our 3 categories behind, category 3, 2, and 1, will be in pursuit of these riders. And the start is really key, trying to get in with that group straight away. And it looks to me like just a little bit of a push having to come from behind, as one at least riders just being distance. So, yeah, here we go. Just starting to make contact. And I think that was Terry Tandigan and Gallego, who just on the way through, Marie Jose Gallego and Terry Tandigan, who just had to make that little bit of a catch. So a little bit of an effort there to get on board, but looks like they're going to do that. So the whole of the women's race field in category 4 is away. And now time to get settled in.
Yeah, and settling in on this start section, which is the really only piece of flat road on this course today in Wollongong. So it is indeed a flat start before they come into a first short, sharp, steep kicker, which the group here will be approaching very shortly. But as they sweep around this bend, you can see now that that early start that stretched the group, everyone has come back together, and they are now a tight bunch on the road. So that bunch is really tight, and we've got a nice group of red jersey category 4 riders. Hyde is in here, Tanningen, Fernanda, Gonzalez, Pablo. Gallego is in here. These riders all riding really well as they move through and start to transition across this bridge. And it's at the end of this bridge, Matt, that they start to see that little first kicker of the rolling sections of the course. That is the Wollongong City route.
And this, of course, dress rehearsal of coming through to the finish. So we take a slight left. There's a little bit of a dip downwards here. So you can see it's minus 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 1.1, 1.2. And then it starts pulling quickly back up again. It levels, and we are now climbing. It doesn't look much on your screens like all things TV. It flattens it out as it does with the climb in front. But believe me, this is going to hurt, having ridden around the Wollongong circuit. This actually is a really steep kicker, and it's steeper at the end of the climb as well on the way through. And although it's not a categorized climb, it really is decisive. I mean, we're talking gradients of 7% on here, and yet it isn't categorized, but it is key because it comes right before that finish.
It does indeed, but even early on in this race, this is always the place that we see the first stretch of the legs, and indeed Pablo is leading this out at 7 watts per kilo and actually really looking to stretch this group early into this race. So Fernanda is following through with Barco, Ossa and Vink and Agudelo and Hyde, but they're really having to work to close down that gap, and it's looking like, if you take a look at the top right hand corner of your screen, we are now starting to see gaps appear, and not just one gap in this group.
Indeed, so plenty of action already. We're less than 2k covered as we come through underneath the finishing gantry there. You can see those gaps are opening up in the group. The riders continue to push in category 4. Our next category away will be the riders in blue. They are category number 3, and the category number 3, the next step up the ladder of our riders. And again, a fantastic set of riders, lots of talented riders joining us once again. Slightly bigger race field this time, and we have our teams. Well, it's going to be the team from Golden Light, always with us once again, and great to have them on board. I'll tell you something, there should be a supporters prize for all the riders who turn up to week in, week out. Golden Light is definitely going to be qualifying for that one.
Ever present.
That's the word I was
An
looking for. Very
ever-present
good.
ride. Yeah, so category 3 today, 18 riders taken to the start sheets today, including Team Golden Light wearing those blue jerseys. And some great names in here as well, Matt. So Antico is in here, Ribaldo, Barker, Fioroni, Ochoa, Higuita, Jose Zabala, Lopez. I could go on and on. This is a very competitive race field again today.
It is indeed, and our riders are lined up, ready to go. Going to be really interested to see who takes this out. So our category, 3 riders winding it up, ready for the explosion. Out from the start and away they go. This is key. They want to be right into that draft. They don't want to burn too much energy, but they do not want leaving behind at this early stage with a massive gap to make up. But our riders are away. And as you can see, that pack coming out cleanly as one big group. Maybe that little bit more experience just showing, but the category 3 riders are on the road.
They are indeed, and the pace is not particularly high, Matt, coming out of that group at the moment. So all staying together rather than the stretch we saw in that category 4 race. So in here, we've got a number of riders who we're expecting some really strong racing for. Antico, Coking, Jose Zabala. These riders are tucked into this group. Giuliano is in here as well. So looking quite tight as a nice little bunch riding through this section, this flat section before we see, and well, I wonder whether we will see any action on that first climb like we saw in the category 4 race.
Well, I would expect that we will because of the mix of the riders. We look at these riders. I mean, we've got some great riders in here. And people like Fioroni, we saw on the rewind just before the show, looking like she means business again already up there. Our riders personalising, and as the game develops, as we get more and more progress on the game, what we're finding, we get more and more personalization. So Fioroni, very distinctive, has personalized the hairstyle as well as the socks. You got different bike kit in there, different hats in there, different helmets, and it all helps, doesn't it? Because when you're racing, knowing what you look like sounds obvious, but it's not, is it? And it's really, really key, particularly when you've got all the jerseys the same.
Yeah, being able to pick yourself out of the crowd and actually see whose wheel you're sat on and where you are in that group is absolutely essential. And you're right, Matt, it may sound trivial personalising your avatar, but actually it's absolutely essential for you to be able to spot yourself very quickly in that pack and see instantly where you are. So that really does help the riders in terms of quickly identifying themselves in the pack and seeing their position.
And it's very, very key, isn't it? Well, like you say, not just to know what you are wearing and what your kit looks like, but also what your opposition looks like. And bear in mind that it's not always going to be the same. I know for certain riders, when they're racing on esports, will change their kit almost on a week-by-week basis to confuse the opposition and to make things more difficult. Tom Lindley is a great example of this. He's a rider who I know really, really well. And he's a rider who always changes his kit just to make things very, very difficult for people so they can't follow him. Tactic that you'd use, Emma?
Well, no.
Is that just because you're too lazy, or is it just easy that you'd rather be able to spot yourself?
No, I'd rather be able to spot myself, and I have put myself off before. But as we are talking about avatars and we're talking about attacking and racing, Kabatan is the one pushing on this climb. She's being followed by Quintero and Higuita and Coking. Antico is in there as well, and Antico is putting out some huge numbers to close the gap back down because the stretch on this category 3 group is massive.
It has indeed stretched out. We're just coming up to that same finishing line gantry here. So as we come into the finishing line, the group spread, we are seeing riders now distance. We're seeing a thinning, a selection already being made. And at this stage, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Mary Joyce Coking does in category 4 in the preceding month. And in the preceding months, we've seen her go out on solo long-range attacks. And she tried that last time out and got closed down.
Yeah, her move up to category 3 has been really interesting. And I think over the next few weeks, as we see her develop as a rider, it's going to be a great one to watch.
Well, we will see. We're going to move across to our category 2 riders. They are all lined up and down on the start line. We have our teams ready. And our team today, and we speak of ever presence like Golden Light, the team from the Cycle Zone Ladies one. I got to say, absolutely superb to have them with us week in, week out. Kekkonen, Tan, and Hadlock. But of course, another big field with a lot of talented riders.
Yeah, we've got 19 individual riders in this category today, alongside that one team in these green jerseys. And whilst it was Osorio, Sinelli, and Kekkonen who took the 1, 2, 3 in the February final, last time we were in Wollongong, it was Olsen, Sinelli, and Pardini who took the 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens on this Wollongong course today.
It is indeed. So we're in to that final countdown.
So we're in with Elodie Reynard as this group move off the start line today in the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, qualifier number 1 for March. They push out of the start pens and they turn onto the course proper as Reynard sits in that group. But we've got a large group of people with Parra leading that off, and Parra's gone out really hard from the start here. So Angie Parra kicking off the start line at around 8 watts per kilo to really stretch that group. Fernanda and Hermassen and Lantari are the 3 at the front of the group behind, but the group, interestingly, is not looking to respond and close down that gap to Parra. I think they're just letting Parra go out and to hang off the front for the start of this race, and expecting the group to come back together very quickly.
Well, we see this from Angie Parra week in, week out. It's a regular tactic by Parra to push on really hard, to go off from the gun. And I think she knows that she doesn't pay for that later. She can do that initial kick off the line and not break down too much from that and be able to recover. Again, it guarantees she's not going to be left behind. Maybe she had a traumatic leaving behind at the start of a bike race. It always happens to somebody, and it could well be that Parra's lost the race that she really cared about and is now having to push on. But Parra, you notice now, just dropping back on the watts per kilo a little bit there. She dropped from 8 watts per kilo down to 4. This group are a long way down on that, but they do have the advantage of the drafting. Now, Emma, take us through what the drafting does. Parra's on her own, she won't get any.
Well, Parra is on her own and she won't get any. And as you can see, viewers, on the top left-hand corner of your screen, 217 watts at the moment from Parra, and those numbers were black. We're now back into the group with Tanglian and 66 watts, but those watt numbers are in green. That green number signifies that the rider is benefiting from the draft, so actually getting an easier ride for the pace they are moving at than someone on the front whose numbers are in black, which signifies there is no draft from that rider. So we've got a pack of riders here moving, but you know what, Matt? I can't see Parra. Parra is a long way down the road now. This group here of category 2 riders, this main bunch, are moving very steadily at around 2.5 watts per kilo. Angie Parra is still pushing on, you know, around 3.5 to 4 watts per kilo. So 20 seconds now. Could Angie Parra have nailed this from the start?
We have never seen in the history of Wollongong anybody solo from the gun.
No.
Nobody has ever soloed from the gun.
Oh, I'm willing Angie Parra to do it.
I'll buy you an ice cream, Angie. I trade in ice creams, believe me. Yeah, ice creams or gelato or sorbet, whichever you want. But I'll trade you that for a solo. Maybe it might have to be quite a large gelato for a solo win, because that would be some effort. I mean, let's face it, it's huge. But look at this move here behind. Beria Serna, one of our regular aggressive riders, now taking up the charge as they come over the top of that climb. That gap is coming back down again, but watch this yo-yo, because look at this. You can just see Parra has got the gap, but they're not all going to come back together for a little while. It's still at 5 to 6 seconds, but it has really rocketed down, and that is the power and the pace of that pack, they just move quicker with that draft.
Well, they do, and I think for the first time there, I've just seen Para drop below 3 watts per kilo. So it's going to be interesting to see what tactics she picks up now. But take a look at that group map on the top right-hand corner of that screen. You can see the damage that small climb has done to this Category 2 group. We've got one lone rider out front, we've got a large bunch, and then we've got 2 smaller groups behind. So what was a group that was all together off the start line within 2.2 kilometres, it's now 4 different groups on the road.
And that is key, because when we go over the top, it descends down, it picks up pace, it gradually increases in gradient. Well, the 3 categories away, we have one more category to go. It is our Category 1, the elite riders who are going to be taking on this course today. Our teams, well, we have the Crank Cities and Beast Mode powered by Rose, and they have some great team riders. Jojo Bauer, the Crank Cities in there, Martinez, Walkenhurst, Daniel and Klein in there for the Beast Mode powered by Rose team. But a massive list of riders.
Oh, a huge start list today. 46 riders on the start sheets
Say that
today.
again.
46 riders on the start sheets today in Category 1. And it's a real who's who, as well as some new riders in here too.
And I picked out people like Catherine Fua, we've got Bardaskaya in there. Lots of our riders ready to go. Let's see who's going to take this away. So our riders off from a race start. The moment has come. Qualifier race number 1. All our riders underway. Who will be the first over that finishing line when we've completed 2 full laps, then run into our sprint banner. So the riders clear and away here on qualifier race number 1. The riders need to get this dialed very quickly. This is a huge bunch, and it's going to move very, very fast indeed off from the start line here, even without putting in much effort. And I can't imagine anybody wants to take 40 plus riders into a sprint at the end. I don't think I want to call a sprint of 40 riders in at the end. I don't know about Emma.
Wow.
It's going to be absolutely manic. I mean, it'd be great fun, but wow, it could be carnage. And I suspect we are going to see a number of big attacks, already seeing riders distance. But got to remember, when riders come into this format and they come into Sunday Race Club, the category they get put into is Category 1.
It is indeed. So all riders joining, all new riders joining the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club do indeed go straight into Category 1 for a few weeks until the verification system can allocate them to the correct category. So that is why our Category 1 field does look very large in comparison to the others. But also Category 1 is one of the biggest race fields regardless. So really interesting to see 46 riders today in this Category 1 race.
I got to say, really, really important for people. If you're just jumping in and you're watching this back maybe post-race, or you're watching this live, do not be disappointed by being dropped by Category 1. We have the best riders in the world in Category 1. And until you find your place within those race fields, being distanced at the start by Category 1 is nothing to be worried about at all.
Indeed. Catherine Fua is back in here today. Now, coming hot off of a top 10 in the Esports World Championships this year. You know, you talk about the best riders in the world, Matt, and they are in this pack.
And that's a prime example of why in Category 1 our riders need to jump in, ride, get the experience, learn how to ride at pace, how to deal with the very first climb. Same climb we've seen Category 4, 3 and 2 up here. Category 1 are going to go up here, and I would expect to see the big contenders, people like Jojo Bauer, who we're following now, right up at the front of affairs, not necessarily attacking, but just ensuring that they are not distanced and a gap doesn't open that they can't cover.
Yeah, so as they push on here, the gradient's just top 9%. We've got 1 or 2 riders just dropping off the back of this group as the group stretches, and a strong group of riders at the front here now. The tail is dripping off the back there on this climb. Now, last time the Category 1 women were in Wollongong was qualifier race number 3 in February. 57 minutes it took the women that time.
Blisteringly quick.
Well, and interestingly, it was an 8-up sprint into the finish that was won by Quevedo. So 35 kilometres with 2 Category 4 climbs, and it came down to an 8-up sprint.
after 57 minutes, nearly an hour's racing. So our riders up and away now. Kelly Sakamoto, first Category 1 rider over the line last week, and probably a good time to explain how the results will run. At the moment, the screens will show a live race on the results. That's www.mywhoosh.com. As with all esports, performances, though, have to be verified. So we have live during the race when the riders cross the line and the race is complete. That becomes an unofficial result. And then with the verification process, which includes AI here on MyWhoosh, we'll then check the performances of the riders and make sure they're physically possible, make sure that it doesn't break parameters, make sure that there's no data loss in there, make sure that there's a matching curves in between the power and so on. It's a big process that is applied to all the riders. Once that's happened, then it will be an official result. Now, there's lots of reasons why that can change. If you open the room and the window in your room and your temperature of the room changes, if you find that the moisture levels change, that will change it, and you will get one of two things. So if you say just an error, it will be an annulled, and that is what happened to Kelly Sakamoto. The data didn't quite match, so it was annulled. It's not a disqualification. That would imply something more deliberate, and it's just an annulment. So if you look on the results, although Kelly was the first of our Category 1 riders over the line, that result not verified. And that is all part of the process. That is esports across the globe, and that is how it works. And it's all part of that process. So it does mean we're going to call the race live. It does also mean that you need to go onto the website, mywhoosh.com/results, to check out those results, look at the power number, look at what you would compare to. Generally, I find myself at the bottom of the level, not necessarily at the top of the racing level across all race fields. And Emma's giggling in the background because she knows that unless it's like a 3-second sprint 20 times, I've got no hope. Fortunately, I don't have to go climbing the hills, and our Category 4 riders at the front at 11k, Category 1 at 3.5, but Category 4 are on to the second part of our big climb.
They are indeed. So those Category 4 riders are on the second part of the Mount Pleasant climb. They've gone up over the first smaller kicker, and they've dropped down the descent, and now they are onto the second part of these slopes. Now these slopes will hit over 17% today for these women. So Category 4 well and truly now on the climb of Mount Pleasant, 17.7% at the moment under the wheels of this group.
And these riders, no doubt, wanting to get some practice in on this course as well, because we have the MyWhoosh Championships coming up. 8 days of racing. We're going to be out and racing, and these riders need to know all of the courses inside out. Interesting group in here, though. At the front, leading up here with Fernanda Gallego as well in the climb here.
Yeah, so Fernanda, Barco, Ossa, and Gallego, the 3 riders at the front of this group. But do you know what? This is a big stretch of Category 4 riders, but there's still 6 riders in the shot there. So Fernanda, Barco, Ossa, Gallego. We've also got Agudelo in here, Pablo and Gonzalez, and then it's Vink, who is rider number 7, who has just been distanced a little bit further down the road. But these riders all obviously in a group before they came into the bottom of Mount Pleasant, and now this climb is doing some damage and stretching this group. In fact, just dropping back to Ella Vink, you can see she is indeed the last Category 4 rider in this group, and it's over 2 minutes back to the chasing group, which has got Tandingen and Hyde in it.
And Tandingen and Hyde are 2 riders who we know who can figure at the front of the racing. I think just going out and getting a verified riding to make sure that they qualify for the finals at the end of the month, because remember, it's about going through now. We're just in with Robert Helene at the moment, and just seeing again, just pushing on at the moment, just keeping that riding going, just keeping it nice and smooth on the way through. And again, going to be getting a verified riding, which is all key. So getting the more rides, the more practice, the more you get used to the courses, the better you're going to do when it comes to later on in the month. Now, we're going to go across to our Category 2 riders, riding in with Jenny Sanchez, one of our really regular riders in Category 2, and a regularly aggressive rider who is very well known for her breakaway attacks. in with Elodie Reynard now, who's again another of our regulars. Elodie really riding frequently with Jenny Sanchez here. And these riders in one group are moving quickly. 41 kilometers an hour. It's the last speed check, just dropping to about 36, 37, right to 41. They are moving quickly, and they're the sort of riders we'd expect to see figuring in the MyWhoosh Championship in Category 2, wouldn't we?
Well, our Category 2 race field is one of our most competitive. We had 12 different riders in this category, finishing the top 5 throughout February. So there were 4 races in February, 12 top 5 riders, 4 races. That's not bad going from this category. So we have 19 starters today. And as you can see, it's still one big pack.
It is indeed one big pack on the way through this race field. And we're just giggling into the commentary box here because we both want to say exactly the same thing at the same time. It's a bit like when you see 2 riders going in the finish. If you haven't watched Strade Bianche, oh my goodness, watch it. Just watch it. Watch the men's, watch the women's. The women's finish. When you talk about people wanting to do the same thing at the same time, that is it. Oh my goodness. I tell you, I'll let you watch it and then jump in. Don't forget, if you're watching us live for the first time, my name's Matt Payne. I am bringing you all the race action. You may recognise the voice from the UCI World Championships, from the gravel, the mountain bike, the cross, the trials, the BMX, you name it. You probably heard me somewhere on there. I'm joined by Emma Martin. Emma, of course, regular rider DS as well as competitor and commentator. And she's a rider who knows these courses inside out. And just as importantly, knows the race tactics because a regular DS for the Aeonian race team. And at the moment, she's pointing avidly at the map screen, going, "Shut up, will you, Matt? I need to tell you about what's going on in the racing."
Yeah, and this Category 3 race is really hotted up. They've gone over the first segment in Mount Pleasant on the climb today, and they are just about to come into the lower slopes of the second part of the climb and hit this 17% gradient. The group has stretched and concertinaed. It's now coming back together and tightening up again as they hit these steep sections and these slopes here, as Quintero is leading this group out. Antico Lopez Huiguita is in there as well. They are really pushing on now, and these women are racing and racing hard.
They are indeed. This is one of the key moments in the race, and we see time and time again on the Mount Pleasant here in Wollongong. The first climb, the first part of the climb, really breaks a few riders. They push hard. They put themselves into the limit or over the limit. Then we do the descent. It compresses. It gets those riders back in again, but then we hit the even steeper slopes of 17% as you come out of that dip. It then levels and then kicks again at the finish, and that really does some damage. And of course, when we get to the summit here, Emma, one of the key things riders need to remember is the 2 summit tops, because it's almost a twin peak at the top. It is very much knife edge tops. And that means that when you go up to the top, you're going slowly. The moment that you go over the summit, you are accelerating very quickly. It then does the same again afterwards, which just exaggerates that same issue. Gap opens bigger, compresses slightly, opens even bigger again, whereas a flat-topped mountain or hill will allow that group to come back together. That's not going to happen here, is it?
No, it's not, because as you mentioned, Matt, the gradient changes really quickly. But taking a look back down this shot here, we are seeing this group of women riding really strongly, and they are all tapping away a really good pace on these pedals. And you can see the quality of this field and how well matched they are. They are moving up this climb, and you can see the top of the climb now in front of them. They are moving through there really well. Now, in our Category 4 race, Georgina Hyde is the rider we're watching here, and take a look behind her. That is our Category 3 race group. So our Category 3 race group are about to make the catch to the rider at the back of that Category 4 group, and look at the pace they go past Hyde.
Well, Hyde is definitely taking it easy. We've seen Georgina Hyde figure right at the front of Category 4, and she's an absolutely class athlete. She, at the moment, is going out and getting a ride in here. And remember, that's what Race Club's all about. We've got people of all categories, all abilities, making sure they get the qualifying in for those finals when they're going to be representing the teams as well as being an individual in there and making sure they get those in. They go past Terry Tandigan. Tandigan, another of our class riders. So category 3 riders are just going over the summit. They are at 11.5 kilometers, nearly 12 kilometers now. At 10 kilometers, though, on the left of your screen, you can see the category 2 leaders chasing category 3, who are chasing category 4.
They are indeed, and our category 2 riders are now on the first part of the Mount Pleasant climb. So this is the part of the climb that is slightly more shallow. The top gradient is around 9 to 10% on this section of the climb. So a good warm-up before they hit the main part of the climb.
At what point is 9-10% shallow? 9 or 10% is going to tear your legs apart. It's absolutely going to do some serious damage. Now, really interesting. Category 1 are at 8.5k. Category 2, 2k further down the road, 10.5k. 12.5k for category 3 and 14.5 for category 4. But what separates category 2 from category 3? Mount Pleasant and the main part of the climb, because category 2 are in the dip before they go onto the main slopes. Category 3 are well on the way down that descent. So we have the full main part of the climb and the descent separating categories 2 lead and category 3 lead. Now, here we go. The riders on the way. They're going to start to catch riders in category 3, but they've got a long way to go to the leaders. First riders are going to be Giuliano, and I think that is going to be Jackie Giuliano from the States. It's going to be the first of the category 3 riders to see the leaders in category 2. Olsen, Cinelli in there, Berio, Cerna, Lansari, Reynard, all in here. Sanchez, big group of very talented riders, and it's riders like Elenia Cinelli, who we see on your screens at the moment, expect to figure strongly. She can climb.
Yes, absolutely she can, and we've got both Sanchez's in here as well. Jenny Sanchez is in here as well as Manuela Sanchez. Both of those two riders are strong as well, and I expect this group to pretty much stay together over this climb.
Yep, I would agree 100%. I think we're going to see maybe 1 or 2 people push over the top to put people in trouble, but it should come together on the descent. If riders are off the front, they'll be closed down by a group because of that draft effect. However, if you're off the back of the group, you're going to be in trouble, and any gaps that open up, you can ill afford, because you have to close them down before you go into that descent, that knife edge summit taking the effect. And at the moment, you can just see Jenny Sanchez actually at the back of this group, just trying to move up and push up. Osorio climbing well at the moment, so Luisa Osorio really pushing on here onto the wheels of Alessia Lanteri, then Elenia Cinelli up in front of her. These riders continuing to squeeze, and looks to me like that is going to be Berio Cerna, who's just trying to close the gap down. All these riders really are trying to work very hard at the moment, but category 1 on the first slopes now of Mount Pleasant on the left, halfway up the second part of the climb. It is category 2, the distance between 1.5k, and that is a compression due to this climb.
And I'm trying to count how many riders are still in that lead group of category 1, Matt, and I'm thinking there's
lots.
well there are lots,
but
there's over 20 riders still in this group. Now, it was indeed a massive race start with 46 riders taking to the line, but take a look at that group.
That's not 46 riders, even my maths can tell you that much.
It's not 46 riders any longer, but it is a very large group of very strong women, and we're going to see them go up this climb for the first time now. I don't think this whole group will be together as they hit the descent of Mount Pleasant, but I still think it's going to be a large group.
Well, I make it 17 riders, but that is very subject to confirmation, given my maths is suspect at the best of times. Plus, of course, in my defence, they're going to be changing all the time, because we're seeing riders joining from behind who are maybe struggling on the flatter sections, who can climb really well, now accelerating up. Those riders who are strong, who on the flats, maybe now struggling, as we see Kelly Sakamoto continues to push over the top, looking for another good ride from Sakamoto today. Cavedo in there, Zapata in there, Estrada, Echeverry, Rondon in there. It really is. Gemma Brogan in there, really fast. And Brogan credited with, of course, now being the winner of Category 1 last week.
Yes, indeed. So Brogan, our winner in our Category 1 February final. And that was an amazing climb at the end of that race last week. But as we just drop in, you can see here Category 2 are now on the descent, and Reynard is leading that out. She's got a little bit of a gap and a little bit of a distance on Olsen and Lanteri as they come up onto her wheels, as Sanchez are also in there. So these are the riders we expected, Matt, to be in the front pack of this Category 2 race as they stretch down this descent.
But I personally expected to see maybe a few more in here, because we are only talking 5 or 6 riders here. It is very few riders. So at the moment, looking like 6 riders in total in the lead. Look at this. I mean, they are absolutely rocketing down here. We're in with Manuela Sanchez, another rider. We saw Manuela and Jenny Sanchez both attack simultaneously previously and work together. And great to see those tactics in action. But on this descent, it's almost impossible to go clear, isn't it? It's almost impossible. There's no gamification. There's no bonuses that you can just suddenly get a boost from. It's real-time racing.
Oh, it is indeed. And we talked earlier on very briefly about riding the routes, pre-riding the routes, understanding the routes, and understanding the technique of riding them, because understanding where the dips are, how to utilize the momentum on the course really gives an added bonus to the rider. And it's not always the rider with the highest power that wins the race. The rider who is smart and knows the tactics of riding on this course and how to technically ride on MyWhoosh is absolutely an advantage.
Definitely. Well, really looking forward to when Kelly Sakamoto has that as well. Relatively new name to us riding here. Now, if we have done our research right, Kelly Sakamoto, I think, is a marathon runner, potentially, who is also right, but we will see whether or not we've got the right Kelly Sakamoto, because, of course, we always do rely on you. Please get in touch, get hold of @Biking Emma. Now, Sakamoto on the screen, leading this up and putting the pressure on, but that group look to be pretty comfy, Emma.
Yeah, they do indeed, don't they? And there's a significant group of them, and they are still a very tight bunch across the road. So this rider here, Sakamoto, leading this group out. Strong ride up the first ascent of Mount Pleasant today for Category 1. Further down the road, and it's still a significant way further down the road, over 6 kilometres is the front of the race on the road today, Matt, and that is a group of 6 riders in our Category 4 race.
So 6 riders in the lead of Category 2, 6 riders in the lead of Category 4. Our Category 4 are going to hit this line. They will have 1 full circuit, 1 complete lap of the terrain to do now. So you can see them absolutely flying. They're going really well, Category 4. Again, we keep on seeing this now. Category 2, you can just see Hermansen, Montoya and Para now are not where we would expect them to be, and that is in the lead of Category 2. They have been distanced.
Well, and it's interesting, isn't it, what that climb does. The Mount Pleasant climb is very difficult and it's very technical. You know, that small climb, the drop, the massive climb, and then the big descent with the double kick at the top. You can see the impact it has on this Category 2 race with Para here, Montoya and Hermansen split now from this group.
And right behind is Jesselina Menendez, Mandana Degamashandi on the way down. They are the leaders in Category 1. They were all over the road as they came over the summit. I think they're going to regroup here. Bauer is not taking any chances. She's pushed up to the front. You can see Del Rocchio doing the same. They're going at about 4.5 watts per kilo on this descent. And that is incredibly quick on the way down. They're about to catch Angie Para.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Look at this group as they come through. They're going to come past Para at pace, and they are bringing, well, yeah, that's it, isn't it? They're bringing that second group up, and it's all coming together. Look at the size of this group still. You know, over the top of that Mount Pleasant climb for the first time, that group is still all together.
It is, and it is moving at some serious pace. They are steadily going to catch Category 2, 3 and 4 riders, and it is a big pack here as they come down this descent. there is going to be some serious work being done here as they just come around. So we're just in with Jesenia Menezes, who is on to this section. Now, this is almost the back end of the course. We talk about the main course features like Mount Pleasant. What we don't talk about maybe as much is the sections of course out the back. And this is one of those. It's a really long, straight, almost Romanesque road as you come through. It rolls over the terrain rather than riding round it. So it's basically a long, straight roller coaster. It dips and it rises, and then eventually it comes into a turnaround. Now, just dropping back with our Category 3 riders, they've just gone through the archway. So again, another group of riders going out. They are going to have a full lap left to go here. So one more lap left to go, and they're just going over that bump that has the rise, has that line, but it is breaking up. Fioroni, Ribaudo, and Antico at the moment up in the front. They just stretched it out, but Higuita and co, Lopez, all pushing it on, and they've got to be careful that they do not get distanced when they get caught back, because it's very easy for the riders who come up at speed to go flying past, and if you don't react early enough, then you come in. And one of the things that the riders have to get used to that is very different to riding out on the road is lag. Lag is the technical term for the delay between when you stand on the pedals to start stamping and when your avatar starts to wake up and realize that you suddenly put out several thousand watts of power and you're trying to chase somebody down real quick. Getting used to that lag, because every system will have it, the time it's taken to transfer to your turbo trainer, then into the game and out the other side, depending on the speed of your data connection, the quality of your internet, the quality of your equipment, how much Wi-Fi you have going on. All these things can affect that lag, and it does make a difference. A good system will have that lag down to something that you can hardly notice, a matter of milliseconds. To give you an indication, 15 milliseconds, you can hear 15 milliseconds delay. You can feel 2 or 3 seconds, and if you have a lag, what you have to do is when the group come towards you, you actually have to start sprinting slightly earlier. That's where these riders can get caught out. The riders coming behind are coming through at speed. They are hitting the back of the group in front, and the group in front are not reacting until they're caught. They need to react beforehand. Now, round the turn, this takes us back along the coastline. As you can see out on the left of the riders, this little kicker here has been an instrumental point on laps number 2 before now. It's been an instrumental point. In fact, Michael Vick in the men's race has used this climb to go solo for a full lap and about two-tenths, fifth of the way round. It has been used to break groups, but Category 1 looking to come over that intact, chasing Category 2. At the moment, there is just under 2 kilometres between the leaders of Category 1 on the left of your screen and Category 2 on the right of your screen.
Yeah, and in both groups, Matt, we've got strong riders, and it's a larger group of Category 1 riders you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, as opposed to the 6 riders currently leading this Category 2 race on the right-hand side of your screen. But strong riders in both groups, as we see our Category 2 group coming in to what will be the run into the final next time.
Indeed, and we've seen Category 4 and Category 3 go out onto the race lead, out onto their next lap, onto their last lap, but you can see Category 1 leaders closing down on more of our riders, and I think this is going to be the chase onto Garcia at the moment. So Apple Clarissa Garcia, Giuliano going to be passed fairly soon, not all that far away. Here we go. Going through, Zabala also being overtaken by the Group 1 leaders. And this is not an easy course to stay with a big pack of fast riders, because whilst they can jump in, and you can see that's happening now on this flat section past the pens, it's not so easy to do the moment it hits the climb.
No, and that is it. And I've just noticed Lisa Hermassen, a Category 2 rider, has also joined that large Category 1 group as they passed her. And you are right, Matt, it's not one of the easiest courses to take a toe off a chasing group. Now, it really will depend on what the 30-second power of the rider is that has been caught, as to whether they can stay with that lead group on these short, sharp climbs. And it also depends on whether there are any attacks.
So we are seeing our 6 attackers in category 2 go underneath that banner. 1 lap left to go till they get back round to that banner. A quick recap for you. We've got Chinelli, Lanteri, Olsen, Sanchez in there. And you've got 2 Sanchez, Manuela Sanchez and Jenny Sanchez, as well as Olsen, Chinelli and co. They are moving very fast indeed. They are managing to keep just under 2k between themselves and category 1, who are closing down, but not maybe as quickly as we would expect. Currently at about 1.8k separating these riders. It's been that since they came on to that descent. And I think if it's just left to the climb, it may well be that this category 1 are going to have to do something very, very impressive indeed to close down category 2 before we get to the finish. Category 1, though, are through past the pens. They take this long sweeping left. We've got a little bit of a dip, and then we're onto the climb towards the finishing line, and that little bit of a rise. This is the group in contention for the win in category 1. They will be the fastest riders on the course today, and they will be the riders with the shortest time to cover the distance. Will it be fast enough to catch the rest of the groups? Well, one more lap for us to find out when these riders hit that yellow arch next time.
So separating these riders from the finish line next time is nearly just, well, it's just over 1 full lap of this course. So they've got 1 more ascent of our category 4 climb, Mount Pleasant, and then they will drop off the top of that, and it's a 6.2 kilometre run in from the top of Mount Pleasant next time to the finish line. And I think Mount Pleasant this time may well whittle this group down on this lap, but I still think there's going to be a group of category 1 riders coming in to the finish line next time. So they cross the bridge, and the gradient starts to move upwards on this small kicker. Nobody really pushing on the front of this group at the moment.
You can see, though, our category 2 rider, that's Lisa Hermansen, just squeezing early to make sure she's got the best chance of going through with this group as they go up on to the climb here. She's continuing to push, and this is the way to do it. Give yourself some sliding room, get to the front of the group reasonably early rather than hanging on the back and maybe getting caught out on a gap.
Yeah, smart riding from Hermansen as she's really thinking about what she's doing and staying with this group for as long as possible.
Yep, definitely. Smart rider wins the day 9 times out of 10, but you've got to also be ready to take the opportunities when they come. And Lisa Hermansen, by jumping in here, is taking the opportunity of getting a free ride on the relatively flatter section of the course. This is relative because Mount Pleasant is, of course, a big climb. But if you can jump in, she is going to be making time up now on the rest of category 2.
Yeah, she is indeed, but by no way is this a free ride because she's having to work for it. She's having to work hard to stay with that category 1 group, but she is doing an outstanding job as she continues to stay within that group. A little bit further down the road, around 1.5 kilometers now separating these 2 groups of riders. On the right hand side of your screen, you can see on the rolling sections through town, our category 2 pack currently leading that race. They are all still together, a little stretched over this road at the moment, but there is rolling, and you can see how rolling it is on the top right hand corner of your screen on the graphic that gives you the road detail. But this group's still together and this group rolling well.
Yep, that road detail screen top right hand side gives you the ascent, the number of meters covered in ascent. It gives you the gradient. The riders are on going to red for the steepest sections, grey into descent. You can see the profile at the bottom of it and the dots of our riders. The rider that is shown, which is currently Manuela Sanchez, is the large dot. So you can see there's one large green dot. That is our rider that we are covering, and you can see highlighted in red on our rider screen on the right hand side, and that gives you the competition around. So, for example, you can tell that LED radar is on the same time with her, that the riders behind and in front have a time gap. Top left-hand side of each of our riders' screens are their personalised power, their revs per minute, the pedal cadence, and their heart rate monitor, and all of that, of course, combined with the speed, the time that they've been racing, and the distance covered.
Yeah, and look at the difference in distance between this category 3 pack, Matt, and that category 2 pack, it's actually going out. It's now closer to 2.5 kilometers than 2 when we saw it last time, which tells me that either the category 2 pack have sat up and are taking it steady, or that this category 3 pack are moving on quickly.
Well, these category 3 riders in here really have shown that they are the riders who are likely to be in contention week in, week out. People like Carla Fioroni, Alicia Antico, Sirocco Lopez, Ribaldo in Higuita, Barker. They are riders that we know time and time again are going to be up there, irrespective of terrain as well. Whether we see, because of course the great thing about racing, the different profiles where we've got the big climb at the end, whether we have a really tough little section of there. But one thing I think we're going to notice here, this is going to be a group of what I think is going to be 7 riders in here. As they make their way through, they're just about to actually come around and onto this right-hand bend here. And we've seen some real differences in pace as they come through.
Yeah, we have, but you're right, 7 riders here in this category 3 race, and they are all still moving really quite strongly, you know. So the climb of Mount Pleasant will not come till 26.4 kilometers, so just under 2k these category 3 women are away from the next ascent of Mount Pleasant.
Which means category 4 must be pretty close to hitting there. Category 1 on the right-hand side of your screen, so they've got some way to go. They've got over 6k. Category 1 still the biggest pack on the road at the moment. They've also absorbed a category 2 rider in the shape of Lisa Hermansen, who's getting an easier ride than maybe she would have had otherwise. I don't want to get told off saying it's a free ride, because it definitely isn't, but it's definitely a whole lot cheaper in terms of energy than it would have been solo, as she makes her way around. Great riding, and that gap is coming down. And I tell you something, she's doing more than a fair share of work on the front of this group as well, because she also, of course, is on a mission to close down on the riders in front. She'll want to get up into the top 5. Remember, in MyWhoosh, prize money is equal across the men's and women's races on Sunday Race Club. Since we've been broadcasting, it's always been that way. Same prizes, equal prize money. Top 5 riders in category 1, in category 2, in category 3, and in category 4, all getting prize money. And when we go to the finals, top 5 teams in each category, also big prize money as well. And when we talk about big prize money coming up soon, don't forget, you need to get your entries in, get those verified rights, and make sure you're ready for the MyWhoosh Championships. With it, shall we say, we haven't said it the whole way through, $1 million prize pot.
Yeah, so as we go back to thinking about the Sunday Race Club, we've got 6 women at the front of this field. So these are the riders who are first on the road at the moment, and it is our category 4 lead riders, and there's 6 riders here in this pack. So we are seeing Agudela just stretching out at the front now. These riders have just started the climb of Mount Pleasant for the second time. Agudela Gonzalez is in here. This group are moving back onto the wheel, and we are seeing Barco Ossa as well in here, as well as Fernanda, and these groups are not letting, so the group not letting an individual rider go off the front. They've closed it down. They are still one large pack. The gradient is currently 8.7% and rising as this group climb up Mount Pleasant for the last time.
And key here is to be able to, but if you had a perfect tactic, it would be to ride up here on your limit, not go into the red too much on this first section of climb, so that you did enough recovery on that very fast descent before going into the second part. And at the moment, the rider who's pushing on is going to be Viviana Gonzalez. So it's Gonzalez who is stretching her legs. 6 watts per kilo, just hitting the numbers top left-hand side of your screens. And the rest of them are having to answer. And Agudela gone up to 8 watts per kilo in pursuit there. And these are big numbers. This is category 4 women's racing. Now, they're not going to hold those numbers for long, but using them at the right time is key. And you can see it has pulled now 4 riders clear, and it looks like the riders behind in 5th and 6th position are struggling now to go with the pace. Pablo winding it up on the front here, and Manuel Pablo is going to take them over the top of this section, and this will aid these 4 riders because that gap has gone out to 7, if not 8 seconds at least now.
Well, it's Barco, Ossa and Agudelo who are the 2 riders who have been dropped, Matt. They were both in the top 5 last week in our finals. So this climb really, not working to their advantage today as the 4 riders clear do not include those 2 riders.
Well, we need to do a double check on that as they come up over the top. So I'm sure I just saw Barker also dive in very quickly. We're riding with her on the left-hand side of your screen. And they're coming back down here. They've got to get it back together again quick on this climb. And you can see Gallego at the moment is still coming into that left-hand turn. So this is going to be really interesting. Gallego is doing the same. They are in trouble. The riders in front are winding this up on the front. So let's see who is going to open up the gap at the front. Can they chase back down again? So Gallego and Agudelo chasing, but look at this. Manuel Pablo has said, I want this climb. It's going to be mine. I'm all over this. She's stamping down on those pedals. And at the moment, Manuel Pablo opening up a big gap here. It's looking big on our screens. This is a category 4 leaders. They are well clear of category 3. Rabaudo nearly 5 minutes, nearly 6 minutes behind, chasing. That's the nearest category 3 rider, and it's the aggression in category 4. Great racing here on the Sunday Race Club. Category 4 has exploded across the hillside, and the person who's pulled the pin, Manuel Pablo.
Yeah, Pablo is laying some intention down and she's showing us what a brave rider can do. Barco, Ossa, Gonzalez, Fernanda are the riders chasing and chasing hard, but Pablo has really pushed on this climb. 4 kilometers, I'm going to say that again, 4 kilometers further back down the road, we are in with the category 1 race pack. This pack is still rolling along and they're still rolling along as they push through. They're not yet on the next ascent of Mount Pleasant. That is still some way off for these riders, around 2.5 kilometers away. So some distance now between this category 1 lead race pack and the front of the race on the road today.
So category 1 here on the Sunday Race Club, heading in towards Mount Pleasant. On the top right hand side of your screen, you can see that profile, the first part of the climb just coming into view, moving its way from right to left. It's not going to be long before they go on to the horse category climb for the last time. The real test is going to come. We've got a couple of bumps on the way in, but we still have a reasonable distance now. Emma, this category 1 group is big group. They are moving fast. They are chasing the rest of the categories. But at the moment, we have not seen a decisive move, which we're seeing in categories 4, category 3, and in category 2, we've got a breakaway.
Yeah, very different racing from each of our race fields today, as we see very different tactics come to play. Now, our category 3 race fields on the left-hand side of your screen are indeed 3 kilometers down the road from the category 1 group on the right-hand side of your screen. I think category 1 will come to a sprint, but I'm predicting that it will be a smaller group of around 8 to 10 riders on the other side of Mount Pleasant this time.
Nice prediction. I'm not even.
That's my prediction.
I'm going to sit on the fence and garner even more splinters than I managed to pick up yesterday. So here we go. The riders in category 3 on to the climb. Antico, Lopez, Fioroni, Higuito. They are coming, and they are coming quick, and they are starting to close down on Agudelo, who is only just distance from the group before. So look at this, really moving quickly, and this group are starting to put the power down. 400 watts just coming out there. 500 from Lopez. No wonder Lopez has gone into the lead and pushed on. Quintero putting out big numbers as well here as they continue to push. This is the upper slopes. We've got another steep rise before the summit. We then dip an even sharper summit edge, and then we drop, and they are closing. Meanwhile, Manuela Sanchez Well, she is absolutely motoring behind, and Sanchez now on the climb. Looks like she's just put another diggy in Category 2, right-hand side of your screens. This is Category 2. Elenia Chinelli and Manuela Sanchez are leading the charge here, but they have not snapped the riders. They've not broken the elastic. They need to keep pushing here. They will want to open the gap. If they're not going to open the gap by the time they get to the top, then they need to back off slightly earlier, get that extra bit of recovery, and go with the pack on the downhill, because if you get caught by the pack with the lag and with the response, you can get snowballed over the top and get distance and gapped on the way in, and anything you work for in the first part of the climb is gone. But it looks to me like the leaders are going to go back together. This group is coming back together in Category 2. Meanwhile, left-hand side of your screen, it is going to be Category 3. Emma.
Yeah, it is Category 3, and they are now on the descent. In fact, they're just on this little kicker here, and they're about to kick up on this little section of climb before they hit the descent proper. But Ribaldo is the rider kicking over the top there. Huiguita and Antico are following. They are having to push on and push on really hard to close this gap now in this Category 3 race. But you can see the line of riders behind. They are all now on the descent, and they are all chasing Ribaldo.
And Ribaldo is a rider at risk now, because what happens is this group come at pace. They're going to come past. If they come past fast enough, Ribaldo could get caught out. She's resting now. Look at the watts per kilo,
Yeah.
0.2 watts per kilo. Great place to rest, but you've got to have your wits about you. Now comes the group behind. She's got to choose a moment when she's going to push on here. When does she choose to kick? She can't afford to be distant. She's got to be watching this screen really well. This is great riding, but she now has to make the most of this. She's trying to stay in the draft. She has got two riders behind. She doesn't want to be caught out by this, because the gap is going to open in front. So, Ribaldo, this is a brave move. If we look in front, I think we're just about going to see the riders who are with her, but they are coming up behind, and she's soon going to be the last rider on the road here.
Well, her heart rate is dropping like a stone, but there's a trade-off, isn't there, between utilising a downhill section for recovery versus pushing on the downhill section. Now, most riders think downhills are about recovery, and it's a great tactical advantage if you utilise that moment to push on.
It is indeed, and of course you can catch somebody out, because if they are recovering, they've got to then get back up to pace, up to speed. So the riders on their way through, working really hard in Category 2, making the way in and through. Let's see how they get on. The riders are up on to the climb. So our riders on the climb there just to make the descent. This is the rundown between step 1, phase 1 of the climb, and phase number 2. Here we go on to the climb. They're going to take this left-hand turn. Here we go. This is where it gets really, really steep. 17% coming up, folks. This is where those legs are going to burn. The lungs are going to be screaming at them. They want more oxygen. They want more power. Who's going to have it?
Well, this is the front of our Category 1 race, and Jose Valadez is here with Zabata on the front. I really am thinking about in real life them looking over the shoulder and seeing who's with them, pretty much like those avatars are. But while she's looking over her shoulder, the others are coming past her. Zabata, Menendez, Quevedo, Echeverri, Sakamoto. They are all on this climb now, and they are all climbing well. Bauer is here, Brogan is here, Estrada. These are strong riders, but look at the size of this pack. The gradient is kicking. We're heading up over 15% at the moment, and these riders do not seem to be going anywhere.
They are not breaking this apart at the moment, or you can just see that there is a little bit of a gap to the rider. Is going to be Fernandez just in front of Category 2, a little bit of a carrot to chase. But the riders in Category 1, this is where they've got to choose. Do you want to take a huge pack in? Are you prepared to gamble a 1 in 20 pack chance from breaking this up to a 1 in 5 group? This is where surely you've got to push. If you sit back here, you are going to save energy. But what's the point if you can't get anything at the end of it? Because the time is running out. The clock is ticking on these riders, and they will run out of road to do something decisive. If you are a good climber, you got to bring the strengths that you have, and now is the time to do it on this climb. It's no good waiting for the last 100 meters. You're not going to put a big enough time gap to not get caught on that descent. You've got to go hard, and you've got to go now.
Well, road is running out for anybody who wants to put an attack on this climb now for this Category 1 pack. The group is so large and the quality is so strong that it's a particularly big ask now as the gradient now starts to drop, and we're only seeing gradients of around 7% now.
I was going to say.
Well, it was indeed 17% earlier on in the early slopes of this climb. It's starting to kick again now as we're starting to go up towards 12-13% as they start to come to the top of this climb. But there's still 9, 10, 11 riders easily, really tightly packed at the front of this group.
There is indeed. Now here we go. We're going up onto the top of the climb. They are chasing the riders, and I think the catch is about to be made. The group of 4 leaders on the road are about to get caught by Alicia Antico, who has soloed clear of the rest of the riders in Category 3. She's going to take a little bit of advantage here as she comes in through this group. So she's going to go flying through here. Look at the speed. She got a little fractional drafting advantage there, and now she pushes on. Will the rest of the group answer this? Remember, this is the solo leader in Category 3, but Manolin Pablo, who we saw climbing so strongly, is the solo leader in Category 4. And I think Antico is going to have some passengers on the express train as she moves down. So the Italian Express is going to take the Colombians with her at the moment. They are trying to close it down on Manolin Pablo, who's on the left of your screen. But Pablo at the moment is down the road by about 300 meters.
Well, she's got 1,500 meters till she'll see the finish line. So Pablo, 1,500 meters out from the finish line. She's got 20 seconds clear of second, third and fourth in her own race, who are the Category 4 riders who are currently on Alessia Antico's wheel, the leader, the lone leader in the Category 3 race.
And this is where, if any of those Category 3 riders go, Category 4 riders, sorry, in red, join Antico and do some work on the front, they will find that rewarded. But they can't do too much because at the moment it looks like they're all just trying to pick the pocket and hang on to the back wheel there of Antico. If they can go to the front and do an effort on there, they will find that they're going to get more reward. They're going to get a very quick chase down. Pablo is on the left-hand turn away from that start straight, heading underneath this green man. It signifies that we're heading for the coastline once again. Pablo has the gap, but that gap is tenuous and could quite easily come down because Antico has got 3 riders with her and they are chasing hard at the moment. Will they be able to bring this down? Well, this is going to be really interesting. Now, that is at the front of the race on the road. This is going to be the fastest riders on the road. It is our Category 1 leaders with Brogan on the front here. They are off the descent now. This is the pack that, or what is left of it, and the big question will be, has Emma got her guesstimation right? Her estimation of 7 or 8 riders. Have you gone too low there, Emma?
Well,
I think you have.
There's 10 riders in that group, unless there's more behind the camera at the moment. So 10 riders currently in this race field pack of Category 1 riders.
Well, it's looking like 10. I think you might be right there, Emma. So not a bad guess. That was pretty close. And it looks like they're closing down on riders even so. But that is still a 1 in 10 chance at the finish. You've got to be feeling strong now. The next attack point for Category 1 riders is that sweeping left-hand turn where we do the spiral up. It's not all that far. We've got the left, the right. We go straight there and it spirals round. Meanwhile, Manolin Pablo is on the way to the finish. So here she comes. This is going to be our first finisher here today. Category 4 rider. She climbed at such a pace. She absolutely blew everybody away. She's going to come into the finish. She's lapping riders on the way through. It's going to be Manolin Pablo, our Category 4 rider, who solos to a race win here today, and even laps Category 1 riders as she goes through.
So the chase behind from Barco, Ossa, Gonzalez and Fernanda, those are going to be our next 3 riders through. And then Alessia Antico is going to take the win in the Category 3 race.
So the Sunday Race Club win going to Antico. Now comes the sprint behind. It's going to be Lopez, Quintero, and Antico, Quintero, and Lopez are side by side. Now Lopez pushes onwards. Lopez is going to get second place. Quintero's going to get third. Ribaldo's going to get fourth or fifth. Fioroni was right on her. And Barker is going to be in 6th place, just out the prices. She's going to be kicking herself. That was so tight there.
Yeah, so our Category 3 and Category 4 races now decided. Antico, Lopez, Quintero, Ribaldo, Fioroni, Category 3. Pablo, Barco, Ossa, Fernanda and Gonzalez, 1 through 4 in that Category 4 race.
Wow, what a race finish, and so close in the fight for the minor places, but both are winners, Madeline Pablo and Alicia Antico. Chapeau, absolutely great racing to solo away on the way in. Well, the bar's been set high for Category 2 and Category 1 winners. 2 solo winners. Can we make it 4 out of 4? That's I will put your money. Is it going to happen?
It's looking like we've got 3 leading riders at the moment in this Category 2 race. Sinelli, Olsen and Lantari. They've got around just over 1.5 kilometres of this race to go, whereas 3.5 kilometres to go is this leading pack in this Category 1 race.
Well, let's see who's going to close this down. It's going to be a 3-rider sprint now. Elena Cinelli, Morgan Olsen and Alicia Lanteri are all good climbers. The question for me is, who can sprint best out of 3 climbers? It's often a joke amongst riders that a sprint amongst climbers is the world's slowest sprint. It's definitely not true, because we've not seen me riding. But you can see that these 3 riders now are having to think about the taxis, and this is where it pays out. Who wants this the most? Who wants that top prize? Behind them, if they do any finessing, Manuela Sanchez, she can sneak up. Look at the numbers, 6 watts per kilo. She can see them in front, and she needs them now to do some hesitating. She needs them to look at each other whilst they go around our Category 3 rider. And the gap is now at 3 seconds and coming down. Come on, Manuela. This could get really, really close. I think LD Radar should solo in for a 5th place in the Category 2, but it is going to be between Cinelli, Lanteri, Olsen, and potentially Manuela Sanchez.
Well, Sanchez, the chase is on, isn't it? Because she's pushing on and expecting a little bit of cat and mouse at the front, but I think Cinelli is picking up the pace here. And last time the women were on this course, it was Olsen, Cinelli and Pardini who took the 1, 2, 3. These 3, this is Olsen, Cinelli and Lantari, and these 3 are coming in side by side at the moment. The gradient is going to start to kick, and we're just starting to see it go upwards, and we're just starting to see stronger powers come out. Lantari, Cinelli and Olsen all pushing at around 6 watts per kilo at the moment. Cinelli continuing to push on the front. Lantari is there and Olsen. In fact, it's Cinelli who's pushing. Olsen is responding. Lantari's kicking at 10 watts per kilo. The banner is not in sight yet. They've still got some way to go as Olsen, Lantari and Cinelli really push and really work. They can see the finished banner now as Olsen goes over the top. Lantari is pushing on as well. 10 watts per kilo coming out of Olsen at the moment. Lantari and Cinelli are now behind, but Lantari's coming again. Lantari's kicked at 11 watts per kilo. Lantari is going to take it from Olsen, from Cinelli.
So they're your top 3 riders in Category 2 coming through. Manuela Sanchez is going to be our rider immediately behind, currently in 4th place. And I think Reynard in 5th. So you can see their time that bit quicker. 1 hour, 1 minute, 6 seconds for Lanteri, taking the win from Olsen by 0.202 of a second. Now here comes the run for the Category 1 finish. Here comes the bunch. It's going to be a big kick to the finish. This is the climb. It steepens at the end. At the moment, Menezes on the front, then it's Dega Mashani with the black helmet immediately behind. So it's the cap at the moment of Menezes who's leading this out. Mishandi's got to choose a moment right. They are going to be coming at some speed here. Cavado goes over the top. Cavado's got a fantastic kick. And Cavado is being answered again by Menezes. Menezes has gone through with Chivari. He's coming on the left-hand side. Ortiz comes last minute, and it's Ortiz, I think, who takes it. Bauer was right in the mix as well. That has got to have come down to a photo finish. It's Ortiz from Bauer, from Mashandi, Cavado, Echevarri, Valdez, Geraldo, Rocchio, Menezes, Brogan, and Borgin. 11 riders in Category 1. And I'll tell you something, that was superb timing by both Ortiz and Bauer, because they came to the front when it mattered at that finishing line.
Oh, they did indeed, but look at that. Half a second between the top 7 riders in that Category 1 race field. Ortiz, Bauer, Manshandi, Cavado and Echeverry taking the top 5.
That is some going by our riders, and that is a very fast time. 57 minutes 10. Is that faster than last time we were on this course, Emma?
It was 57:31 last time.
So even quicker still. The speeds are going up. It is getting quicker all the way in and through. So a fantastic riding by our riders. It has been an absolute pleasure putting words to the action on Qualifier Race at number 1. Thank you very much, Emma, for joining me in the studio. You can catch up with Emma online at
Biking Emma. You can find me, or at Full Speed Events.
And don't forget, get in touch with Emma with all of your details about your riding, your paying cave. We want to know all about you so we can talk about you. That's how it works. Please do get in touch. My name's Mark Payne. It's been a pleasure. You can catch up with me. It's at Mark Fixpayne. And make sure when you're online, you go onto MyWhoosh and follow all of the MyWhoosh platforms on social media. We will be back with the men's race very shortly. But from Emma, from myself, and from the amazing team behind the scenes here at MyWhoosh, we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.